What's up, guys? Cliff here, Chandra here from Not Gospel Studios. Today we're talking about Christian dating. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thank you for your subscription. This is Not Gospel. Christian dating. Why are we talking about Christian dating?
Well, I think people have a lot of misconceptions. And I think it's...
According to who?
What? According to me.
That's good to know.
No, I feel like especially younger people, they have a lot of questions. And like one of the questions, are soulmates real? Everybody wants to talk about that. And I have strong opinions on that. What do you think?
Well, hold on. Okay, so the first topic you wanted to talk about on Christian dating was soulmates. Are they real? Do they exist?
Yeah, because I think people are just out there feeling like they're trying to decipher this perfect person God has put on the earth for them, and they're just waiting for it to be revealed to them.
Well, and the Deconstructing Christianity video with Sarah Martin, one of the things that led to her eventual deconstruction of her faith was thinking she'd ruined the perfect person that God had for her.
Yeah. Well, actually, she thought God was giving her someone that was making her unhappy. And that made
so
no
you watched
sense.
her other video about her relationship?
Just from what she said in that one video.
I think it's the difference between guys and girls. I picked up something different, and yours is like, I think, right on. When you explain it the way you did.
Two different stories.
Yeah, when you explain it the way you did, I'm like, okay, you're probably right. Like, she was basically thinking, why did God give me somebody that was horrible for my mental health? Yeah. I just thought she was like, I don't know what I thought now. That sounds so right. My thought, forget it.
You're going to have to take that video down.
No. Oh, boy. All right. So, soulmates.
Yeah. Do you think soulmates are real?
Do I think soulmates are real?
Yeah.
No.
Well, what do you think?
Okay. So, I think... And again, my experience frames my logic, right?
Yeah.
So what I've experienced in my life frames my outlook. I think that God, like when you get saved, when you turn your heart over to God, he starts, I think, setting this roadmap, like these plans. I see God as more hands-on with our life. You know, to me, that's kind of like when he was with the Israelites and he argued with Moses, kind of like, I'm just going to destroy him and make another nation out of you. And Moses was like, no, you can't do that because blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Like, he kind of changed God's mind. There are various thoughts on that as to whether or not that was God's intention all along.
Well, that's kind of what I was going to say to you. I think what you grow up believing might depend on your denomination. Like if you're Calvinist and you think everything's predestined,
then you automatically, soulmate? Pfft, of course, duh.
Yeah.
Hello.
Unless God meant for you to forever be single, and you can't get out of that no matter what you want.
So to me, it's like, I feel like God sets plans in motion, but he also deals with human choice.
Yeah.
You know, so like, you know, there have been people that I know were positioned in my life for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
I mean, like very specific answers to prayer that I hadn't told anybody else, and all of a sudden this manifests itself in my life, and I'm like, holy crap, you know, like, and then that season in my life is done, and then it moves on to something else. And not only is God dealing with your choices that you make for your life, but the choices of the other people that are involved in your life.
Yeah.
So I think there's I think soulmates takes the work away from making a relationship work.
Yeah.
And that I don't like.
Yeah.
It's like, we got together, we got married, but we found out later we weren't soulmates. So, you know, it's not our fault. It's like monogamy and all that's a choice. You know what I'm saying? Like having a healthy relationship is a choice. And I think if you believe in soulmates, it kind of strips any power and like awesomeness out of being determined to stick with that choice.
And I think a lot of times people want the decisions to not be their own, but they still want to get what they want. And so it's like they make up a fantasy world. And I've noticed, I mean, not to criticize you or any other male, but I've noticed a lot of men in churches the most beautiful girl in the youth group is the one God destined for them. That's their soulmate. And and I'm like, how convenient.
I don't know how convenient that is. I mean, a beautiful girl may not be the best girl.
I know, but that's what they want. So God must have destined it. They can't help
seen
themselves.
Steve Harvey when they ask him about the little girl asks him whether or not she should marry an ugly man or look for an ugly man. It's so funny.
That is
He's
funny.
like, absolutely, girl, you get you an ugly man. Like, so you don't think soulmates are real. What's your take on it?
Well, in a way, I do. After all that
You
criticism,
were agreeing with me the whole time, and then it's like, oh no, they're very real.
No, to me, it's more like I feel like
You got 10 people that God's got for you, and if you don't find one of them, tough luck.
Well, I even feel like it's broader than that because I feel like God puts people in your life sometimes, or there's people that they call them twin flames, I think, in the secular world. Like just people.
That may have another meaning now. It's a 21st century,
Well,
2022, twin flames.
Well, like I feel like my grandmother was just special to me, and my best friend is just special to me. And stuff.
Okay.
I feel like we were meant to all be together, you know.
What?
And to me, that's kind of like a soulmate type thing. And I think I had potential relationships I could have had, and luckily I ended up with my husband that I did. But I think there were many potential relationships, and you just have to choose the best one. And hopefully you make a good decision.
Well, I think in the decision-making process, I feel like that can be alleviated with a lot more prayer.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds churchy, but it is. Like,
Yeah.
when it came down to getting married, to choosing to ask my wife to marry me, it was like, this is going to sound weird, but there were options. You know what I'm saying? Like, there were multiple people, potential relationships in the works or whatever, that God wasn't immediately being like, you know what I'm saying? Like, stay away from them, avoid that. Like, that wasn't happening. Sure, that may have happened. I may
You're
have gotten
supposed
those.
to use your own wisdom.
I may have gotten those inklings with some of those people, like, that's bad vibes. But at the end of the day, my prayer life was really upped on all of those decisions. I went to prayer and trusted the feelings I got, you know, and I'll say it, I don't care how crazy it makes me sound. I've said it, I tell the story exactly the same way because that's the way it happened. And one time when I was praying significantly about whether or not to ask my wife to marry me, and about this other individual who was a big part of my life for a long time, you know, we could have had a potential relationship, who sort of kind of came back into the picture when I was getting with Katie. And I just prayed the prayer, like, what do I do here, Lord? I want to trust you. And the feeling I got, it's been this way now for 14 years, because we were engaged for a year and a half. The feeling I got was, look, you can go after this other thing and it might be okay. It might be okay. But this thing right here, I know is good. And that was the feeling I got after my prayer. And when that happened, I was like, all right. I mean, I'm going to go with the no. I mean, you say, you know, this is good, I'm going. And it has been so good, you know, and maybe not. I think if you sat me and Katie down in a room and even apart, like if you interrogated us separately or cross-examined, I think both of us, if we're being really honest, would say, no, I don't know that this was everything I ever wanted, you know, in the start of the relationship. You know what I'm saying? Maybe not perfect as I saw it. Yeah. But it has been, in so many wonderful ways, everything I needed. And I'm sure she'd say the same thing, like, yeah, it's everything I needed. I think I've ruined her on marriage. If something were to happen to me, she's probably, no, I ain't getting married again. It's good. Men, I don't need them. Me.
I've always wondered if dating for pretty people is different than dating for regular people.
Let's get one in here and find out.
No, like, you know, I'm a larger girl, and my options are going to be different than your wife's, who's very trim and beautiful. So it's like, and you're wearing a band, you're touring nationwide and stuff. You had girls just flinging themselves at you. So narrowing down your options has got to be like
See,
a whole different experience than what I've
thought about that with Scoop. my friend, talking about Christian dating again. So, and we're going to have him in the podcast here in a couple weeks. Scoop is a real estate agent. He was in a band. He's an excellent guitar player. He was in our band for 5 years.
Are you saying he's ugly?
No.
Is that how you related to the story?
No, he's a handsome guy. No, you were talking about people having to narrow their options.
Yeah.
He's a handsome guy. He's just, I'm not going to out him particular. I'll let the podcast, but I'll say he has been a tremendous success in real estate, like a tremendous success. And he is in the dating game right now. And he's been praying this year. He was praying to the Lord, give me boldness. I just want to be boldness when you tell me I want to go and do things. And so he's been bold about dating as well. Like he's been going on multiple dates every week with people, trying to get to know people to find the right person, you know? And because that's a goal of his, you know, he wants to get in the right relationship. He's sick of not being in the right one. Yeah. And I think it's awesome. You know, it's like that he wants to do that. But like you said, he has to go through and find like the genuine people, because he's even said this, like it's hard to tell if people are just saying whatever they think he wants to hear.
Because he's a catch.
About big stuff, about faith, you know, and like children and all this junk, you know, and these are like huge things. I mean,
how old is he?
Scoop's like 35. He's closer
Has
to
he
our
never
age.
been married?
No.
Oh, I have questions for him.
I know you do. You're like, why do we bring like the 30-something men who aren't married for Chandra to just...
Do you think Christians should get prenups?
I think, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I think they could. Sure.
Well, okay.
Okay, here, okay.
I don't know 100% how I feel about that, but my gut reaction is, why are you marrying him if you don't trust him?
It's not about trust.
100%
It's not about trusting her. It's about the laws. It's that the law, it's not, in my opinion, okay. In my opinion, if I wasn't married right now and this podcast, because of our blood, sweat, and tears, this podcast went to the moon, bigger than Daily Wire, whatever, you know, millions of subscribers and whatnot, and we were making our great living, it's not only affecting me, it's affecting you at that point. You're my partners. We've worked on this. If I get married to somebody and it doesn't work out for whatever reason and we go our separate ways and she gets 50%, it's affecting everything at that point. And I'm like...
but doesn't she get 50% of what you earn, not of what the business earns?
But if I'm a owner in the business, it could affect everything. It may be where like this marriage or this ending of our marriage creates such a detriment that it could end the business. Businesses collapse after divorces sometimes.
Yeah.
People like that. And I'm just like, it'd be different if, okay, so if my wife had asked for a prenup before we got married because she's going to be... well, she is a pharmacist. She was in college when I asked her to marry me. I'd have said, sure, I don't care. I don't want your money. I don't care. That's not why I'm marrying you.
Yeah, but when you're married, you know, the two become one and everything, financials included.
In my opinion, the woman that wouldn't want to sign a prenup is the one who's probably marrying you for your money.
She's marrying you to be a part of everything of you, including the money, which is fine.
Which is, as long as you're together, you have access to all of it. That's great. You're together.
I don't know, Glenda.
Well, and my thought is this, like anything we did together, like after the marriage, if we built this company together, me and her and whatever, like, of course.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. That's ours. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no matter if we agree or not, whoever you pick out is someone who should agree with you on basic fundamentals like that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the boring parts. I think people follow their attraction around mostly. And I think you need to kind of pick boring things that are very important to you, like religious things, conservative values,
well,
things you just like to do on Friday night.
Well, and that's
if those things don't line up.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like trust is the biggest thing. And if you don't know you can trust somebody, like me and Katie agreed to marry each other when we both basically had nothing. There's hardly any place for deception. Yeah. Our band had not really become what we were going to become. You know, it was still road dogging it all the time. She was still in college. Anything could have happened. All she had at that point had amassed a bunch of school debt. We were both in this position of basically not made anything of ourselves yet. Then the band becomes successful, you know, and then she gets her career as a doctor, you know, a pharmacist. It's like we got into this new position where the money and everything muddies the waters after the fact, after we agreed to marry each other. In a situation where somebody's loaded, and you honestly, I've never been in a position where I've had people lie to me, and I would say you would agree that you've had people in your own life that totally surprised you and did not meet your expectation of them in a dishonest way at times where you're like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe that of this person. I think that becomes easier and easier to find especially when you're loaded. People, money is the root of all evil. Money corrupts. It's like, I would see nothing wrong with if Katie and I were to divorce, and I made something of myself, like some astronomical success. If I were to get married again, I probably would have a prenup.
No.
I'd just be like, and I just would flat out tell her and say, look, I will love you to death. We'll be a family. We'll be a team. We'll make this work. But if you leave me for whatever reason, I'm keeping what was mine. I mean, it's just because I think the marital laws in this country and probably all over the world, they're not favorable to men by any stretch of the imagination at all. We're the ones who got to fight for custody. Women almost never. Doesn't even matter what their situation is. Like, they can have no place to live. They're unsure of where they're going to live. But if they got kids, the kid's coming with me. And the guy is the one who's got to go to court and try and fight it.
Just because majoritively women are the one who take care of the kids. And
sure.
Yeah.
The reasoning can be, you can have all the reasons you want in the world. It's also, the marriage split most of the time is unfair in my opinion. They say 50-50, but it's like, it's been 50-50 forever, even when back in the day, the men were the primary breadwinners. And I'm like, maybe that's to protect the woman, sure, or whatever, but again, we're moving to this age where we're getting to this age of equality. It's like, women are working like men are. They're making money out in the business, out in the workplace. It's like the law shouldn't be designed to protect one or the other of the sexes, especially when the laws are designed to protect the women in that scenario, and the custody laws are designed to protect them. I just heard a case the other day, and this blew my mind. This guy owed $40,000 in child support because he had been paying $600 a month to his wife, and he had been paying straight to her and hadn't been getting receipts from her. And so for years he'd been paying this, and then she was basically suing him would not back him whenever the state came to him saying, you owe $40,000 in child support. You were supposed to pay us, and we give to her. She would not honor the fact that he had been paying $600 a month. She's like, no. He's like, you owe it to me. Christian dating.
Yeah.
What age are you supposed to start dating as a Christian?
Oh, I guess every family's about different.
Okay, now let's peel back the cheap and easy answer and get to the nitty gritty. What age do you think Christian parents should allow their kids to start dating?
I think I'm more towards courtship and not dating at all for kids.
Okay, what's the difference?
Courtship is more like they're friends,
hanging out with their family and stuff.
Yeah,
go over and
they're not like on their own going to the movies by themselves and stuff.
You think those kind of rules can still apply in a world where 8-year-olds got cell phones?
Yeah, my kids wouldn't have cell phones.
Oh, my kids don't. My kids don't. I'm just saying we're obviously the oddities in this culture.
Yeah, but we're also in happy marriages, so.
That is true. I'm pretty content with my marital status. And you are too, I know it. When can Christian kids start courting then?
Man, that's a tough question.
I'm going back to it because I've asked you and it's been no.
I said probably no dating.
Probably no dating.
If I had a kid and was raising.
So how long? As long as they're in your house?
No, I would hopefully raise someone that would choose to keep courting as they grew up.
Because
no dating
the rules
ever.
change. Things change when they get their own car and stuff. At 16, it's like, well, now they have their own transportation. Which by the time my kids are that old, it'll be like everybody's driving electric cars anyways, or hoverboards or whatever. I personally feel like I don't want to shelter my kids so much that they don't
Yeah.
want to include me in their life.
Mm.
So when my kids get their own, when they get their own transportation, I would allow them to start going on dates and stuff with strict like curfews and things. Like, you need to be, when's the movie? Okay, you need to be here at this amount of time. If you're not, you need to call me and tell me why. And I probably need to come get you. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. Because I think for me, when I was growing up, the freedom that my parents trusted me with created a bond of trust that, like, I kept myself. It created discipline in me, keeping myself in check because I didn't want to lose that trust.
So, well, when you were a Christian in the dating world,
When I was a Christian. Now,
when you were young and dating,
yes.
what was the boundaries you set for yourself?
What are you talking about? Physical boundaries?
Dating boundaries.
Oh.
That will include physical stuff, I'm sure.
Okay, so I got a bad reputation when I was dating.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know about this.
I got a bad reputation as a player
What?
because I would go on dates with girls, and even if I felt like the date wasn't going the best, I would treat them super nice because I felt like I was supposed to. I would try to make them laugh. I would pay for especially if it was the first date, I would pay for the date. You know what I'm saying? And I would make them feel very special and very...
You did go on a lot of first dates.
I'd make sure they had a good time.
Yeah.
Part of that was because in my romanticized head, I was at that time like, I'm looking for the right one, man. If I date him, we're going to, it's going to be the thing. And the other part was because I wanted to make sure they had a good time if they went out with me. I want a reputation of someone who's good to go on a date with, regardless. It wound up having the opposite effect because I just wouldn't call them again, if it wasn't a good date, in my opinion, even though we had a great time. I just wouldn't call again. And then a couple nights later or whatever, or next weekend, I may go on a date with somebody else they knew. The other reason that I did that was because I didn't want to get super physical with girls.
Yeah.
And I felt like the more dates we got on with a girl and the more steady you got, or however you want to call it, the more likelihood that now you're staying over at somebody's house and one thing leads to another. So I was like, if I'm going on first dates with girls, nothing's really going to happen. Maybe it's a harmless kiss or something like that, So
as a Christian boundary, would you kiss on dates?
Man, this is going to get you in trouble. I'm allowed to express my personal opinion. What I've said on dates, what I've said about boyfriend and girlfriends, if you're dating a Christian girl, her father is God.
Yeah.
She's a child of God. Her father is God.
Yeah.
He's always in the room.
Yeah.
All the time. So don't do anything with his daughter that you wouldn't do with her daddy in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's a good boundary to create.
So would I kiss her? Yes. Would I don't know that I would.
Let me just stop there.
Yeah. I don't know to what degree the kissing would become uncomfortable for her father if he was in the room. You know what I'm saying? Like, until
before when I was talking about ugly people dating,
yes. Let's get one of those in here.
I just want to say, I wasn't having a lot of luck getting what I wanted out of the dating world until I first basically made a list of, I'm not going to date anybody else unless they meet these standards. And when I did that, it was like doors open as far as getting what I wanted out of relationships.
Figuring out what a legitimate relationship, a long-lasting, like healthy relationship looks like. I think obviously that's a big part of dating. And the only way to figure that out, you got to find out what you need.
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing, Me and Mikey talked about it before, is like at the end of the day, everybody gets ugly. You say ugly people dating, it's like everybody gets ugly eventually by social beauty standards. So if you're dating for social beauty standards and that's your goal, then what you're into is not going to last.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time. So when it comes to crafting a relationship and you're dating, looking for the things that would last. Can you laugh with this person? Can you have a conversation with them? Can you have moments where you don't talk and it's okay.
I don't think you've seen it because it's on Netflix. He's still boycotting Netflix. Um,
Sue me.
there's a show on it called Love
sue
is
me.
Blind, and it blew up a few weeks ago because there was a guy on there who was the only one in the situation. You're not allowed. Okay. I don't want to bore you to death.
I mean,
But
it's
it is
okay.
important.
I bore you to death all day long.
But it is important to the conversation.
All right.
He was the only guy that they weren't able to see the women, and so but he was the only guy that was talking to them in certain ways to get their physical characteristics because he was afraid he was going to fall in love with the ugly girl or a fat girl. And so he was breaking the rules of the scenario just to see if they would be compatible. Well, he ended up with a really beautiful woman.
How was he breaking them, though?
He'd be like, so if I had to buy you clothes, I love shopping, what size would they be? And if we went to a concert, could I put you on my shoulders? Like, he was just saying stuff like that because he wanted a skinny girl and stuff. But the point is, he ended up with a girl who ended up dumping him at the altar because he was so shallow. Like, he was so shallow that even though he had a chance for love with a genuine person, he couldn't get past all the physical stuff.
Yeah. I feel like that's scripted.
No, this wasn't. The world hates this man right now.
I feel like it's scripted.
No, it's not. You would have had
pay
to
him
see the
enough?
show. It was a good show.
You pay him enough?
No,
Have you seen Naked
he's
and
a
Afraid?
veterinarian.
Have
He
you
did
have
not
you
need the
seen
money.
Naked and Afraid? Those people
think so.
stay out butt naked with some random stranger for 21 days with basically nothing, ruining their life. Like, it's horrible. They go away from it like, I
Yeah.
feel so accomplished or whatever, but it's like misery for 21 days. They get $5,000.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, but this guy's a veterinarian and he's also a DJ. But I do think he seeks. He did.
Because veterinary, he's not getting enough flow, so he's
Well,
got to get that side hustle.
He really is about money and partying and stuff. Like, that's, he wanted, like,
He's a DJ.
well, he wants people to see his woman and be
Is he
like,
a successful
oh, look what
DJ?
he got. Oh, I doubt it.
Well, then that's why he doesn't have any women.
Cut.
He's a successful if he was a successful DJ, he probably wouldn't be on Love is Blind. I'm just saying.
I think he's an unsuccessful human.
At relationships because he's shallow.
Yeah.
Well,
I think if you're going for attraction first, you may end up in a good relationship and you may not. But if you build on values first and then attraction, you're gonna be in a good relationship more likely.
values I agree with, because the thing I said attracted me to mine and Katie's relationship in the beginning was peace.
Yeah.
We just had peace, from the word go, peace, which at that time was huge for me because we'd be gone. I mean, the first couple of years of our marriage, I was 120 shows a year or something. You're gone, 60, 70% of the year, gone. You have to have trust and peace, like
Yeah.
always. So, and that's the stuff that lasts,
What about boundaries? Like when Christians are dating. I mean, dating's a little different now. Would you be on apps and stuff as a Christian man?
Oh man.
I think I'd be all over the apps.
Okay, so Christian dating, I think values are the big thing we talked about, right?
Yeah.
So in Christian dating, where you find your potential dating partner tells you about their values.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I'd be on the dating apps. I don't know that I'd be on Tinder and all that stuff. I think I would go to church. I would go to church, and then if I didn't find somebody, and go to small groups. And honestly, this is probably what I do. If I was dating now, I would go to like the biggest church in my area, and I would just start plugging into their small groups and whatever. If I didn't find somebody that I was like, this is the right thing, I probably would go to a different church after a few months. Because I'm going to church.
Then you'd be a church player.
I would be going to no. I'm going to church with the purpose of finding someone to create a life with.
Okay, so you're talking about people who are dating for a purpose. What about
Yes.
people who just date to be dating?
Dating to meet people.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's anything wrong with that per se. Just going out on dates and meeting people. I know it's freaking expensive.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to take some. Yeah, let's go on it. Why not? And then the next thing you know, I'm $200 in on a night or whatever. It's like, I
think
can't be doing that every daggone week.
But you do got to be careful because you might be like, oh, oh, I'll go out with this guy because he asked me and it's a free dinner. But you might accidentally fall in love or be in situations that you're
wouldn't it be
uncomfortable.
awful to accidentally fall in love?
No, I'm saying with someone who wouldn't meet your values and stuff.
Well, then that's different. That goes from Christian dating to being in a relationship as a Christian, kind of like we were hitting on earlier. Christian dating is different from being in a relationship. When you move into a relationship,
Yeah, but you can't get into a relationship unless you was
right.
dating.
But when you move into a relationship, you can't. I don't think as a Christian it's smart at all to get into that relationship thing without having those unequally yoked situations figured out. You know, like I'm not going to become steady with you, like they used to say back in the. I love that, by the way. Like we're going steady. You know, I'm not going to make you my main squeeze unless I know that like you're.
Sorry.
I say that to my wife. She's like, I should be your only squeeze. But yeah, you're not going to be my steady or whatever you want to call it, or girlfriend, unless we've gotten some of the most core things figured out, like church and particularly church and faith. That's like the number one, because those are one of the things. If you think about having a family, you think about eventually what does courtship lead to? What does boyfriend and girlfriend lead to? If not potentially marriage, starting a family. Think about the things that you don't want to come to blows about. Think about the things you don't want to fight about or argue about with your kids. You know what I mean? It's like what you believe. Are we going to pray over the kids tonight? Is one of the big things. You know what I mean? Like your faith is one of the big things you don't want to argue about with your kids. You want to be solid in front of your kids.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously one thing, which is why I would probably try to find a life partner in church and small groups and whatever. And I think I would like to think that God honors that. And if it comes from an earnest heart, God would honor that quest to find the right person for yourself. You know what I mean? I'd like to think he would. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this clip from the Not Gospel podcast, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also tune in on Fridays each week for the brand new full Not Gospel podcast episodes. Let us know what you think in the comments. And as always, keep being awesome, because that's how God made you.